do it. Most of the time, we'll say to our clients, if that's the case, we'll say, take it. So they'll say, yeah, okay, we'll do it. And then that's it. That's how this thing should have gone down. And it could have gone down that way. Instead, you got people making phone calls, trying to influence, get the trooper to change his report. How stupid is that? And then put pressure on him to do it. And of course, he does what he needs to do. He lawyers up. And the next thing you know, it's on the front page. When, to be honest, if they had just done it the way it's done 99% of the time, it doesn't make any difference whether it was a judge's daughter. Anybody else was going to get a first offense. It was a first offense. Anyone else is going to get the program. That's all there is, folks. You plead out or you go to trial. But to get them to change the report, what is most troubling to me is that they did it and they can do it, is what's troubling to me. That they would get the colonel of the state police and the major underneath him to make phone calls to tell the trooper to change it. Thank God the trooper had the fortitude to say, that's what happened, I'm not going to do it, he lawyers up. Now I've been watching to see if they're going to try to prosecute him or try to throw him off the department. If I was the Attorney General, I would call him and say, you call me the minute they try to put some pressure on you, because you're my hero. I want people like you. I want honest cops. Let the facts come down where they may. I want honest policemen, because the system can only work with honest policemen. You may not have honest defendants. You may not have honest lawyers. I've seen dishonest lawyers before. I've had to deal with them. You may not even have honest prosecutors, but if you got honest policemen, they will just tell the facts as they saw them, as they came out. Let the chips fall where they may. But I can tell you right now, no phone call had to be made on behalf of that woman. She was going to plead out, and they were going to do just what I said. Let me give you an example. It would have gone like this. Trooper so-and-so was on patrol. Saw a car in front of him, identified as a Dodge Challenger. Trooper followed the vehicle for 1 mile, saw it cross the double solid yellow line twice, and also cross the fog line once. Trooper decided to investigate, put on the emergency blue lights, pull the person over. Trooper asked for license registration, noticed a strong odor of alcohol, asked if they had been drinking. They said yes, they only had a couple. Trooper looked at the eyes, saw them bloodshot and glassy, asked them to step out to do some field sobriety tests. In the opinion of the officer, he gave her 3 tests and she failed all 3. So the trooper charged her with operating under the influence. The judge would have said, ma'am, are those facts essentially correct? Nothing else embarrassing in there. She would have said, yes, they are. Okay, I find this sufficient facts to accept the plea. I see you qualified for a first offenders program. Seek probation when you leave. Done. All that other stuff, nobody would have read it. Now, it might still be there on the record. Somebody could look if they wanted to. Somebody could say, this is awful salacious. But it amounted to nothing. Instead, the process, the conspiracy, if you will, came out. And that's what was corrupt. That they could do it. That they did it and could do it. I take it back again to Richard Nixon. When they had the opportunity to say, wait a minute, this is the presidency, we can't have anything to do with that. Let the feds prosecute it and let it go. They want money, not from us. Instead, they decided to make a decision go corrupt. Maura Healey. She had the opportunity to say, let's put spotlight on this. Let's say that the chemist was arrested and charged, and we're going to look at every single case. And the cases where somebody pled out, they're going to be stuck with their decision because they knew what they were selling. But the people that went to trial and were convicted on bad evidence, we're going to move to dismiss that case or go in and say, Judge, we believe they're entitled to a new trial because we have reason to believe that evidence may be tainted. And if the evidence is not there, no pros. do it right. Just when you have to make a decision, make the right one. And Dave, that's what you and I are talking about. People did not make the right decision. They decided to cover it up. That's called corruption.
And that only gets deeper. We use the word corruption an awful lot, and I've said this over and over, and I'm going to leave it as my final thoughts here today. When it's allowed to exist, it only gets worse, it gets deeper. It's like a fire. If you saw a fire in the corner of your home, you wouldn't say it's only a small fire. You would stomp it out aggressively. That is what we got to do. When we find corruption at any level, it gets like what I hope we get to talk about with DCF. I just tip of the iceberg of what we need to know about these organizations. But it's because it was allowed to exist for so long. It grew up in an environment of corruption. It didn't grow up in a nurturing, righteous way. It grew up through pure, raw, unadulterated corruption. Mr. McMahon, thank you so much for coming on Red Pill Politics. Let's hear it from my guest. Thank you all for coming out, the opportunity to meet everybody. As always, fly your flags high, keep your powder dry, love each other out there.
Patriots!
Thank you.